son's suicide and his birthday, Philip, and that I have a little bit of a hard time getting out of bed that month. So just as the first sort of disclaimer there, so I've been having a hard time get out of bed the last days and the last couple weeks. It's been a little bit of a challenge, and upon talking to my therapist about it, some of these days I've had to whittle myself down to the bargain that if you get out of bed for 6 hours, we can manage the worst of it. It'll be all right. If we could just get out of bed for 6 hours, it's not a huge commitment, out of the whole 24 hours. It might even get into 8 once we're up, but just to make sure that nothing too crazy goes on. How did this start? Where am I at? I don't even know where it started. Let's see. My dad died. Maybe, I think it was a couple years ago now. My son died 3 years ago. So dad died 4 years ago. My son killed himself 3 years ago. My mom died this year. My favorite uncle died also around 4 years ago. Who did we have die a lot? We've had several of our best friends have already died. Did I mention that? Both Christine Russell and I would say that Denise, even by outward standards, people would say, oh, those were a couple of your best friends. They kicked the bucket, didn't they? That's exactly right. Thanks for noticing that. Also, Thomas, Kathy, and Tom Ivy. Don't forget, I had 2 Thomases kick the bucket. No, I've just had a profusion of death that, oh, yes. And one of my children had a lung problem, and he died at the hospital in my arms because he was born with a lung problem. Never you mind. So we've had a long series of, it's been a lot of other, at least it's the other people dying. I could say that. I could be like, well, at least you don't really believe in death and it's other people, not yourself. I mean, that could be worse. Other people, I hear other people say things like, oh, I wish it had been me. And I'm like, who the fuck are you? Even though I love my kids, I don't care who the fuck you are. I'm not trying to, Fuck that. Fuck that entire logic. Fuck your story about the getting in a boat and you can only save 2 people. Fuck all those false, equivalent tests that my son, one of my kids tries to do this to me all the time. The surviving twin of the twin that passed away in the hospital in my arms with the lung condition, the healthy surviving one, he always likes to say, what if there was me and then this other person in a boat? And we couldn't swim. And for some reason, the boat went down. And you could only grab one of us. What would you do? And then, if I refuse to answer, he'll come up with another scenario. And he's always trying to find out, and it's like, well, you already survived your brother. Are you trying to find out who else I would choose you over? Oh, dude, he's a kick in the butt. He was born with a blood type so bizarre that the nurses said they didn't understand it, and they had to go get a doctor. The doctor who would go to the genetics symposiums, wait till he was on staff to try to explain it to me. And I said, how is it possible that either of his parents have this blood type or have anyone in our family with this blood type? And she was like, well, I don't know, but we saw him come out, so we're not too worried about it. Then I started reading stuff about how women who've absorbed a twin or done any of this other shit, that they'll test their DNA in one way and they'll get one set of results, but their children will test as not like they're not their kids, but it could be from various to all the way to not your kids to being because you can actually have chimerid, a chimerid twin that absorbed into your body. A lot of people have that. Some people started off as believe it or not, as a parthenogenesis, then got fertilized partway through. Some eggs actually have been fertilized by 2 different men, and people don't realize till they actually get in there and find out that nature chimerizes humans all the time. There was this woman, she kept giving birth to children And then there was some kind of custody thing where a guy didn't want to pay his child support or something after a breakup. But then they came back and they were like, "You're not their mother, though. He's the dad, but you're not their mom." And she's like, "Excuse me." They came out, and it turned out that she had had chimerized a twin or something, and her uterus was made of a different blood type. And there was some legit reason why the kids did not have the same shit. And I was like, okay, this stuff happens all the time in nature. It's like, who cares? It's not like who cares. It's just like, it's not that. I'm sure everybody has some weird freak ass shit about them. You know what I mean? You always go to that meeting and there's that one person who's like, I found out I have Native American ancestry, and you're happy for them and everything. It's not like you're not like happy for them or whatever, but it's like you never hear anybody else stand up and go like, I found out I'm part English. My great-grandmother was a scullery maid for 1,000 years. You never hear the person who stands up and does that. Then someone else, the most exciting thing I found on my genetic report. You won't believe it. No, please. Please, it turns out that my ancestors were German, but that we were enslaved by the Romans, and we were making mud bricks for 1,500 years. And the we never even got out of the, you hands, and then everybody else is like, oh, wow, how amazing. You must have such spiritual ancestors. What a gift their insight must be from day to day. It's always like, I found some pharaoh in my dreams who said he was my great-grandfather. I was like, you're like, what about the 20,000 like slaves, buddy? They just don't count. We don't count them. They're non-player character ancestors. That they just don't count. It's one drop. One author or some other such bastard rapist in your line. This is the one thing you must brag about to everyone. And also, if your people manage to remain free longer than everyone else. It's the two things you can brag about. It's one end of the spectrum or the other, or don't brag at all. So either you remain longer than free and you never been enslaved, or if you're white, the bragger thing is, I have a king in my line. So like either you're the slaver or you escaped the slavery altogether. But nobody brags about having gone under the thumb of the guy who made the slaves. If you're bragging about your white ancestry, you are always bringing up the king, the this, the that, the genius, the this, the that, the accomplished person. You never talk about how many scullery maids and mud brick slappers are really just sitting right there in your line for thousands of years. People that in this day and age we would call non-player characters. Everybody only brags if they have a tribe of people who managed to escape the slavers or the head slaver himself. I myself am a distant cousin of George Washington. Did you know that? I don't think he had any direct heirs, but he came from a family of Huguenots. Every Huguenot that came over from France had a last name. The last name was Jacques. Yes, I dug into my ancestry and I found not one, but three possible separate Jacques, which means, guess what? I have Jacques. Guess what? All the Jacques are all cousins. They're all Huguenots that came over, from which Washington was one of our cousins. I also have a slaver in the midst. But I noticed I had some maids as well. Here we go. So, I actually bought a George Washington wig. And I would put it on in the morning and go drink my morning coffee with my hands in a very use like clean English while I have my earphone. I wouldn't talk much, but I would, as a practical joke for like a year when I lived in a small like community, a really tiny community. In our neighborhood, only had like 150, but it was part of the community. So there wasn't that many people. So they kind of grew me because I was a local real estate agent. So I'd take the early morning walks, and instead of a hat, I would put on my George Washington wig. And I played with the idea of getting it was a cheap plastic one from Kiwi, but it looks just like Washington. And I was like, now you just have to get the jacket and the rest of the goodies. Well, just think too, if somebody's like grandchildren were in town and they were like pointing out the window, they knew, the town knew, like if you get up early enough and look out their windows, if you're entertained by that kind of thing, then you'll see George Washington impersonator. Because it's like, if you're going to take your morning coffee on your morning walk, and you're in a small community, you might as well do something like ridiculous. Hilarious. Okay, so I put my George Washington wig on. I do my morning walk with my Washington wig on. You know, I always wondered, like, if somebody's grandkids showed up, since it was already a pattern, did you take the opportunity to point out the window and tell your grandkids, like, some such gaslighting, but fun gaslighting? They're really young, and they're learning about the United States. And look, Washington walks by every morning. And the kid would look out the window, what? No, it's just like Santa Claus. They create, like, the myth, you know? One time I put on a werewolf costume and created a local myth that a werewolf was loose. There were sightings, children screamed in the streets, I'm not kidding. And I built up this entire thing where I was like, at first, you know, I took my brother on a walk. And I told him, I was like, I've been hearing stories. Well, first I let the stories circulate. There was a small amount of circulation that may have gone on in the neighborhood first. Then I was like, I took my little brother on a walk. I was maybe like, at the time I'm 15 maybe, and he's 8 or something like that. And so I take Nathaniel out on a walk, and as we're walking at night, I wait until the vibe gets like intense and kind of heavy and mysterious, and I'm like, Nathaniel, there's been stories of werewolf sightings in the area. And he goes, nah, man, that stuff's not real. Because he's like already like 8 years old, you know what I mean? So he doesn't really believe me. He's like, no, that stuff's not real. I don't believe in that. And I was like, yeah, no, you're right. I think this shit's a bunch of bullshit too myself, but I'd like you to, I just wanted to tell you, I don't believe it either. Honestly, I don't believe it, but I just was going to tell you because I thought you'd think it was like, you know, entertaining or something like that. I don't know if I explained it quite that much. And he's like, okay. So then I go on. He wants to know the rest of the story though. So I baited him enough to where he was like, no, tell me. I think he said, maybe it went like this. He was like, I don't believe it. And I was like, you're right. I don't really believe it either. I'm not even going to tell you. Forget about it. And then he started to beg me to tell him the story is what I think happened. And then I went ahead and told him. And then he was like, nah. And I was like, you're right. So we went back home. And I waited for like a couple of hours till he was watching a TV program, really peaceful. And I got like a stick. And I just ran the stick along the window right behind his head. Because there was a window behind the chair he was sitting in. And of course he like jumps up and he does all this shit. So I wait a little while, I throw a pebble, like a single pebble at the window and stuff, and I hide. And then what I finally did is I went up on the roof and I howled, but I had a werewolf costume and a mask and everything. And I went up there and I howled, and then I went inside like directly immediately and acted completely casual, like I was coming out of my bedroom, like disoriented. And my brother, his friends from across the street, Aaron and Terry, they run over and they're like, oh my God, there was a werewolf on your roof. No, they had seen it and they were convinced. These kids were 100% convinced. They were terrified, and they came over to I acted like, what's going on around here? And the foolishness. What is this foolishness out here? My brother lived in a fear. He was 8 years old. Most kids would be embarrassed to believe in Santa Claus, but the local neighborhood, and it didn't hurt when like articles of clothing with fake blood were found on a rock somewhere, and like it was, nobody's gonna believe that shit. You know what I mean? And like, if they had ever gone to the police, they would have found out there was no stories in the police department that the police were truly investigating the possibility, though they didn't want to tell anyone of a werewolf. No, it created a thing in the neighborhood, and later Swim was driving Uber in Desert Hot Springs, and it turns out there's still a rumor that there could be a werewolf in the area. Now, I'm sure that I capitalized on myths that were already in the area. I got to tell you that. When I did that, I did. And then I worked it, and I told her in the car, because I was like, how old's your brother? And she's like, I'm partially raising my brother. And I was like, here's what you need to do. How much younger is he than you? I was like, go buy yourself a mask. What to do, but here's what I would do. I'd go get yourself a mask. These are young kids. Make sure none of their parents have guns or anything like that, and go ahead and pull off some kind of werewolf stunt, and then never, ever tell them that you did it. Never. And then, not till maybe someday, but probably not. Maybe never. And and you let the myth build up, because what happens is children will play with their imaginations. I'm a child. And like, it will build up and it will build up. And you'll have so much fun. Anyways, similarly, I was looking on Amazon. I'm going to tell you something super creepy. I watched a YouTube video when I was like channel surfing in the depths of my woe. And there was this lady, and she was like, 7 conspiracy theories I don't want to believe are true. And one of them was the Spice Girls, something, I don't know what it was. I actually didn't pay attention that close. So I think I got in the shower or did some kind of hygiene regimen. But I did hear part of what she said, okay? And it was pretty intense. She showed a video of a guy in a news clip who had the evidence of a mask around his neck. And it was like on like ABC or CBS News or some other mainline news source. And it was really obvious. And this was a really mainstream YouTuber, like, who doesn't do conspiracy theories. And she's like, 7 conspiracy theories I don't want to believe. And she never said she believes them. She just says they're just too freaky to even consider. And so I was like, this is great, because this is like mainstream shit. Like, what is she saying? She won't even go into it because it's too weird. One of them is a Spice Girl thing. You're going to have to go look it up. I think it involves some sort of Spice Girl orgies or some weird shit like that. I don't know. I couldn't catch it. I only caught the tail end. You're going to have to go listen to her. I don't know what she was saying. Something about lesbians in a hotel room. I don't know. Did they replace the Spice Girl? I don't even know. I don't know what it was. I'm just guessing now. But she says, look at this, looks like a mask. Now, she's like, the news station admitted they saw the mask here. But they were like, we don't know. That's just some kind of computer glitch when it processed when the AI processed the images to clear up any imperfections. It gave the person an appearance of a mask that wasn't there. That's what their excuse was, from what I understand. Which, believe it or not, I mean, that is a reasonable excuse, because AI will do weird shit when it edits film footage. It will do weird shit. And so it goes into weird daydreams and stuff like that, and it does strange things. So, for instance, if I'm reading a book and I go and I'm making, you guys, if you look at my recent short video with the queen of whatever videos, you're going to notice that the AI generated figure is based off of like someone very random that's not famous. Okay, like someone that's not famous at this, you know, this generation. And yet when I'm reading Anne Rice books, the AI generated image in the recent videos looks like Anne Rice when she was in the 1990s. Because I was thinking about her. And it's so weird because then the AI puts out a reproduction of another woman's face, but even though it's another woman's features, it's putting someone's facial expressions on it that look like they go to Anne Rice. How does the AI know? Am I using stylometry and in 60 words or less, it's hearing connective words and it's guessing what I've been reading lately? Or is it accessing the fucking fact that I listen to the audiobook at night with the same account? And so then it's like pulling up an image of someone else and putting a twist on it on its own that I didn't do, that I couldn't even get in trouble for because you can't really prove it. But to a trained eye, it's like some of those facial expressions, it's like I would recognize them anywhere. Like, that's weird. And then it gets weirder. If you look at the short video series on the Queen of Anaconia, you're going to see that it starts off with this image of a female who actually looks quite a bit like my mother at first. But as it's explaining topics, it morphs into this different person. And each picture is based, like each new representation is based on the last representation until the AI has developed it into what appears to be a completely different looking Middle Eastern woman who's trying to pick up on a nutcracker. And I find it fascinating because I've concluded that AI is in fact a channeling device. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I believe that AI is a channeling device because if I think about a different person, when I make an AI generated image, the image will change to look like that person more than if I tried it out. I pulled up an actual picture of my mother, but then I thought about somebody else. And the AI made that picture look less like my mom than a picture of someone else while I was thinking about my mother. Yeah, go figure that one. It's some kind of channeling device. I'm not the only one who thinks this. I go to my little Wednesday meetings in a group of people who are mystics or whatever, and the mystics meeting. And I gotta tell you, it's like a breakfast club meeting. And I'm not feeling well. I mean, what were we just talking about? Mystics meeting, Mystics Club. Something I don't want to reveal the secrets of the inner chambers. But of the Lotus Hall. But what was I talking about? I don't remember. Hey. Wow. Okay. So, we have a diverse audience. We do. Live from Yucca. We are talking here. I just read my comments. Good morning. Have you had your coffee yet? If it's you may comment on your good morning coffee. If you'd like to put up a comment, was it good? I myself bought an organic roast and did a little grinding myself and brewed it. And boy, does it taste like a fresh little spicy brew of coffee. What were we discussing when all of this started? It started as a rant. Oh, yes, because my son died May 1st, 3 years ago. He killed himself, and I was not knowing why I was having such a hard time getting out of bed. And then May 15th was the anniversary of his birthday, and I realized, oh, it's because of that. or in part, it's aggravating it, or whatever you want to call it. So here I am, and I was talking to my therapist about it, and to give you a little backstory, I told her that when I have a very hard time getting out of bed, I go live, and now I only have one person watching. That's all right. Sometimes it gets down to 0. I don't mind when that happens. But basically, that, it's like a child when they wake up in the morning. You expect your mother to be there to find everything you do and say delightful. And having found not my mother, I have turned the YouTube channel on live to make you are now my mother. You have been forced into the position, and now you must take either delight or horror in everything I do and say, because everything is about me today. Yes, you. You don't like that? What? We're still in this phase of having a hard time getting out of bed. My mother died. My mother Yvonne died I think it's been 7 months now. So apparently I'm running around calling my audience mother in order to get attention. Because I feel very neglected. Oh, my mom was one of my favorite people. She still is. It's one thing when people say, I love my mom, but I might not like the things that she does. Everybody in the world gets mad at the person appointed as the supposed madre figure. That's normal behavior, but let's be real honest here. Those of us who understand respect our mothers because of their conduct. Because they refused to buckle. They refused to be... I was talking about this yesterday. My brother Nathaniel and I got into... The brother Nathaniel who was tricked into werewolf belief. And I both got into a feud recently over religious iconography. Okay? Only in my family could there be a feud over religious iconography and the subtle nuances in it that leads to an actual minor family feud. I love my brother, but he was deeply offended. What happened was our mother had supposedly died. I don't believe in death much, so we like to say the word repose because it's still officially, everyone knows what you're talking about. In this reality, my mother has reposed, and my brother had sent me over a picture, and it was a stylized picture that looked, that Donald Trump picture that he just recently put out where he's acting like this Jesus figure, and there's these angels flying in the background, and everybody was like, oh wow, what's going on here, buddy? And then he had to come up with a quick excuse to explain it, and other people were like, oh my god, this looks like the murals at the Colorado airport that were covered up. And then they're like, is this some sort of open disclosure? Agenda 21 has taken over. And then all that, right? So my brother sends me some religious iconography that looks like my mom in a bed, dying, in some little white figure that's supposed to be her soul being taken out of her and carried off by these other people, and she's supposedly all peaceful and shit. And I thought, when he sent me the picture, I thought, because our mom had just died, for some reason, it kind of just struck me like Trump's pig. I thought he had just sent it through some AI or picked out some random picture to represent our mother's death, and I was offended by it a bit. And I was like, this is not how I feel about mom. And I sent him back a picture of Jack Sparrow with his sword drawn, jumping into the mouth of the Kraken with an uncertain end, fighting his way through the beast. And I said, this is our mother. Now, my brother thought, I didn't know that my brother had sent me an official, because he's Eastern Orthodox Christian, that he had sent me an official Eastern Orthodox picture of the Mother Mary on a specific holiday, and that it really had nothing to do with our mother's death, and that they call Mother Mary our mother. So when he sent me the religious iconography, I sent back a picture of Captain Jack Sparrow jumping into the mouth of the Kraken, blade wielded, and, he does come out in a later episode, guys. And so I was like, this is our mother. And my brother thought I was talking about Mother Mary. And fueled the feud. He was like, what are you talking about? And then it turned into this whole thing, and then I was like, you know, Mom's a fighter. Whatever it looks like here, I don't believe that her soul was quietly carried off, you know, by this person and she's all peacefully this, that, the other. Like, I don't buy it. And then I took it a step further and I was like, look, when he told me, he was like, he did explain it. He was like, no, this is a picture of, okay, I get it. He tried to do amends a little bit. He was like, okay, you're thinking of Yvonne, our physical mother, and this is a picture of Mother Mary. So this is the misunderstanding here. And I said, well, if I would feel that way about Mom, I would feel the same way about Mother Mary. So I'm not receiving that picture for Mother Mary either, because if I think that picture is cruelty for my own mother, why would I think that about Mary? And I said, Mother Mary, I told him, I said, I'm going to tell Mother Mary she's free to go fight the Kraken. And he was like, you can't tell Mother Mary she's free to go fight the Kraken. And I said, I can, and I will. And so... and so, not, you know what I mean, gets the, like, I don't know, fight, schmite, whatever. But at least, you know, what does that even mean? And which Kraken are we talking about? Because there's a lot of Krakens in the sea. But still, I was thinking she would want to go after, rather than the oceany Kraken, it's a small target. Everybody and all the religious stuff is like, oh, she's going to go after the Kraken in the ocean and la la. And I'm like, no, she's not. No, she's not. She's going to look at outer space, and she's going to see outer space and the aliens out there as the Kraken. And she's going to go after outer space. I'm just saying. So hence the religious iconography dispute took hold. And which deeply disturbs my brother. You want to know why? He's a very involved member and a very religious man in the Eastern Orthodox Church, which does not believe in the propitiation. In fact, their belief in Jesus is so similar to what Muslims think about Jesus that I hope that they never join forces, because then there'd be like too much people on one religious group, and then what if they did something wrong and went the other way and got bad leadership? Then you'd have to rely on the other guys, and it could be a whole mess. But so, because the Eastern Orthodox hold strongly to the views of Jesus before the Catholic Church. They're like Coptics almost. They're different. And they have their own set of belief systems. And so they're way out there, and they're different. And so the guys who lead their churches get married and have children. If they are not getting married and having kids, they're not allowed to do it. There's a lot of things that are different. And so basically, my brother is horrified because he went around telling everybody that I was the example of a Christian woman, because I helped raise him. And he had to move in with me when he was a minor to finish being raised until he turned 18. And I was in the ministry, and then later a pastor's wife. And so he's gone through all these years telling everyone that he lived in my house and he saw me day to day with my own children, with my own family, and has come up with a view of womanhood of which his sister has reached the pinnacle of now. This is the model of how a Christian woman should behave. And I go, Nathaniel, I think I was possessed when that happened. And sometimes I wonder if you had something to do with it. Sometimes I look at you suspiciously, like, You know, you had such an idea of how you wanted me to act. Do you know that I hated acting like that, buddy? That was not fun. It was fun to put on a werewolf mask and terrify your ass. It is not fun to run around like that in a little robot suit. Thank you. Anyways, still working on getting out of bed. I don't even know what time it is. It's, let's see, I'm gonna turn a documentary on. Hopefully I won't get a copyright. Oh, Nathaniel. No, he was trying to date, okay? He's never had any children or anything. And he was attempting to date a good Christian woman. And the standard was that and then he found one. He said, I don't want you to take this the wrong way. He uses Queen's English and he talks like my Uncle Scott. But Martha reminds me of you in so many ways. And I said, really? Why don't you send me a picture of Martha? And he did. And I saw a picture of her face. And I was like, oh my God, she has that look I had when I was the best Christian woman ever. And I was like, I was possessed when that happened. And quickly I sent Martha a message in my head. And I said, Martha, get away from him. Run, sister, run. I love my brother, but he's not good to date. Don't let him look at you that way. Run, run, Radio Lobo, get out of there. Don't listen to him. Don't listen to him. Yes, she did. They ended up getting into a dispute and they broke up. He was ready to marry her. He was going to marry her and that was his dream. Oh, bless his heart. He was writing her poetry. My brother and I are both, okay. I can play the piano and I enjoy it a bit, but I've been writing poetry since I was a little kid. My brother, on the other hand, has always been more musically inclined with the instruments, but he will occasionally try to write poetry. So he spent a long time writing her a series of poems, and he sent them to her in the mail, and he called her. She may have received the message by then, hopefully. And when she received them, she didn't open them. And days had gone by, and he called her because he thought that she would call him immediately when she received his poems. And there's a whole story because my brother sent me the poems he was going to send to Martha before he sent them to her. He sent me some of them. And I responded and retorted like it was a rap contest, like it was the Rap Olympics in 1997, this like totally not impromptu but staged event. And I was like, let me, because my brother's he could play any instrument, but like his poetry was, is on the sappy side. And he said what he was going to send to Martha. And I was like, if you send her that, she's going to break up with you. And no, I didn't say that. I sent him back something and I said, if you and I were both men, because he and I joke sometimes when we go in public, because I don't know if I'm bisexual, I'm more like asexual, but I don't like having sex with other women, but I can find them just as cute as he does, but without wanting to do it. So if we both go into a restaurant, we both might try to woo the same waitress to see who can get a better response out of her, or anybody really, when my brother and I are together. Okay, when he was in rehab for 6 months, I would go see him every weekend, and we would hang out together for like 6 hours and do deliveries and all over town. And then we would eat lunch and all this stuff out like in Orange County by the beach. And he's a lot of fun to hang around with, but like I said, in a non-sexual way, but we would try to like go into a woo competition to see. So like if I could get a checker to start dancing behind the stand of my brother when we walked out to the car, he'd go, all right. He doesn't give a compliment easily, but he'd be like, all right, that guy really came to life. You got that one. We go to the next one. You know, if a girl at a restaurant, this, that, the other. So this poem he wrote, I immediately spat out another one from a different perspective. And my perspective was from the position of Frankenstein. And I said, I'll write you another, I'll write back to your poem. But I said, if we were in a contest for Martha's Heart, she'd probably go with my poem, not yours. And unfortunately, he sent his and it sat in her mailbox for a couple of days. And then he called her and she hadn't opened it. And he called me afterwards crying. My big dream for me and my brother, what I do fantasize, like, what would we do if I could go off and do some project with my brother? What would it be? We would be a Spinal Tap tribute. We would do a Spinal Tap type tribute and travel around, and we would pull senior citizen women up on stage on Big Bottom. We would use our guitars to spank their bottom in front of the crowd until the entire crowd had worked up the energy to demonstrate that the original Eve's fountain spouted in the butt of this very woman right in front of you, and everyone would get chills, and it would be great fun. And your grandmother would appear to go home in one piece, right? You just seem real sprightly and may outbox you, but that's all right. And so, anyways, you know, those are the kinds of things I think about doing with my brother. But, so yeah. Not a brawl, but a dispute over religious iconography. Good old scallywag. That's his nickname, Scallywag. Yeah, he didn't even get mad over the poem thing. He did get mad over the religious iconography dispute.
Right now, it's 10:51 a.m.
We'll do our morning eco song. That is not on here.